So, hi everybody and welcome back to this C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 112, and in this video we continue with our exercise where we try to hack our account with brute force, and we already made some progress. We created our login here where we are again. Here is my main, and there we created a password generator. And then we created our login, and now we try to combine this. What I mean with the combining is when we start our screen, we want, of course, that this one works automatic, and we are at this point where we have this screen which is showing us nothing, which means anything is wrong, perhaps. Let's start this one again. It's showing just the password generator. And that's the intended thing, which means here the generator, it's generating all the password, it prints on the screen, and this is wrong because we want to try to combine this one. And now we have to think a little bit. So we set generator password extended. We put this here on top. The reason for that was because we need the password generator. He should generate first a password which we can test in our account. That makes sense, right? So we have created this user input, and we have generated this global variable which is in our password generator. And look, this one, I have here a problem. You see, I have here a lot of code and how I find this variable, and I hope you know the trick. It's very easy. Make here right click. It's one. There are different ways to get there, but if you go here to the right click, find all references, and then you can click and find all time where this one is used, and you can even read here what it says, and yeah, you find it. And in my case, you can see it's on the top. This is my global variable. I know this now. It's here used here in my login account, and this one we have created it here where we said, this is our password generator, and we said, okay, this line was our generating password, and the problem was here, this is a local variable which exists only in this scope here. And then I said, hey, we can change this. We generate our global variable, we have generated it, and now we can use this global variable in our login account, and we assigned it here. So this step was nice thinking, but the problem is still this generated password here is generating this. We have talked about this generated password already in some videos before, and it is recursively creating all the possible passwords. And now our job is to find every time if it's creating one password, that this password will be passed here and be used and tested if this exists if this one is the right password, and then if not, it creates the next one, the B, and then again passed here. That is our job here, and that's again a tricky one. It's not so easy. It looks like easy when I do it here in the presentation, but actually it's not easy because you have to think here a little bit not straightforward, I would call it. And what I mean with that is you will see in a moment. So we said, okay, here's the generated password extended. Here we generated. Here, that one is actually what we need, right? We go in the login this account here, and we go here. And now I show you something which is a little bit strange. I don't go in here. Instead, I take this login account and I put it here in this one. A little bit strange thing what I'm going to do. I show you what I mean with that in a moment. Let's do it and then you see it. I say this one is the generator, right? Here the passwords. Let's jump to the generator, and the generator is here to get password extended. Okay, here I get not here, actually here at this point. Here at this point. Here I generate it, and here in this loop I will generate all the possible passwords, and when I generate it, it will be here. At this point, it will be generate exactly the one element password which I need. The problem is how I use this in login account, and I say, hey, we can call the login account exactly after this one here. So what I'm going to do is I call login here instead on top. So I'm not calling you here anymore. And yeah, I just delete this one here. And the problem is, or let's say, what I achieved with that, why I made this one here. The thing is, this password is generated here. The login account, I can call this one here and I say, okay, let's go first to the login account. Okay, this login account will call here. It gets the variable here. Perhaps I don't even need now this global variable, perhaps, I'm not sure. But we keep this one here to be sure that it works. And then I say here, okay, put this one, this generated password, and this one is exactly the generated password in this loop. Right? For example, it starts with 0. The 0 loop, it generates A. This one will be passed and then passed here. And this one, this login account, is called and it will use exactly this A. That's my goal, and that's why I created it here, and that's why I said this is not so easy to see at start, because the normal way to thinking is, okay, I have the account, I want to use the account and get anyhow this variable here after this call. But instead we are saying, no, we generate the password, and while we generate it, we call this login account, and then we are using this generated password in. That sounds here very simple explained from me, but this is not so simple, and we are not finished. There is still much work, because this is just finding the place where we can use it, but there are many conditions which we have not checked. And before we go on, let's see what happens. We check fast so that we see if we are on the right track. Oh, it still goes down, right? So, but interesting is here something, it says here account hacked something. What is that? Let's see. I go to my account, my login account, and I can see this one, and then there is a check name and check password. That's okay. And this one is checking if this name and this password is right. If this is right, it will say account hacked, and it will put out this user password input. And what is this user password input? Is this one what we want to see normally? But the problem is, when we start, why is this not stopping? Or why is this one here account hacked? AA, is AA really the account? No, it's A. It's not even right anyhow. That's not true, it is right. The point is here, it starts probably all time with, we will see what the problem is in a moment. So we have to think a little bit more. So we have found this place is probably right, but we have to set up and check something. And what we have to check here is, let's see what we have to check. We have this one here, we start, okay, and then I go here to login account, okay, and normally this one, if this one is true, I found this one. But this one shows the check name result. Check name is checking our user input name. If this is true, and the check password result, if this is true, the second one here, then if both are true, I hope you know this one by now, that this one is an AND condition. Both must be true that we can enter here, which means we found our password and our username. Then we enter at this point, it says hacked, and we print out the user password input. All right, so far it looks good. And what is the problem now? The problem is it prints this out, but it jumps back here to this point after it finished, and then look this. this one will be executed even if we found our password here. After this one is true, this one is still executed. And actually, I don't want this to be executed after I found my password. So we need to learn now to define a condition for this one, to say, okay, this one should not execute it when I found this password here. You should not go to this one here, and you should also not loop here more. So, and this is our next job. And let's do this. So let's try this now. Let's see, we have here, okay, check how we can now bring this one here to this place here. So this is our job anyhow, to find a connection between these places. And there are different ways. But all time if you hear condition, right? This one is a condition, right? We have to find a condition, and this condition is a magic word, which means if you hear condition, think all time about a if statement, because most time a if statement checks a condition, and this is, at least it is a start point. So perhaps not the best solution, perhaps it can change, but if you hear condition, you can most times start with a if. So, okay, I say if. The question is now, what if? We have to find this condition, and then we have to write something here. And yeah, all right. So if anything happens, you should run, and if anything happens, you should not run. And we have already defined it. We said here, okay, if this one is true, you should not run this anymore. All right. The problem is here, we have not saved this one in a variable, because we need now, let's say, info, when is this true? And the best way, like all time in programming, is save it in a variable, and then we know it, which means I create here after this one a variable. Actually, I create a global variable and I assign it here. So I go again to this global variables here on top, and I say, okay, I need again a variable. What kind of variable? This time you can choose what you want actually, but one easy checker is all time a bool variable, which is true or false. I make then a bool so I say bool variable, which says it can be, say, true and false. True and false means yes or no, and I call it found, let's say, what we call it, a name which makes sense here. Check name and password are true. Let's call it found password, found name and password, name and found name password, password, found name password, and I set this by default to false. And this is a global variable, which means we can access it in every function, and which means I go here to this if statement, and this if statement says after this checks here, yes, we found the right name, we found the right password, and we will print out account hack. But here I set found password, found name password to true. Now this one is my info which I need. When this one is true, I say here at this point, you should not go in here. You should stop. And how I make this, I say found password, because this one can be, oops, found password. This one can be true or false. I have to check if this is true, because if this is true, then this means let's check this if this is right. I think this is not right what I made here. Because if this is true, that means we found the password, and you should not enter this one here. So the other way around, I need here another operator, which means if this one is not true, okay, that makes sense, because this must be false, then you should enter and generate more passwords. But if we have the right password, then don't enter here, we can stop. And we use here, then we got, yeah, that's a good approach. That looks a good approach, but let's see if this is working, because It is good, but perhaps not good. We will see in a moment. So the best way is just start it and try to compare this with your expectations. And now, oh, wait a minute. All right, I see something like it says all-time account hacked, but it still goes down, down, down. Why? Why you still go down, down, down? This is the next question, because it can't be here. I stopped it, right? This is so my expectation, but it still goes down, down, down. And we have to check again what is called. So this generated password, that's okay. Let's check this fast again. It goes here. Oh, it goes here to a while loop. Again, loops. When you see loops, then you have all time think about start point, end point, and when it's terminated and when not. And here, actually, we have something like true. And true means this loop is looping forever. And forever loop means it will generate this password here all time. It will call this all time. And then it will jump here anyhow. Check this one. And then it will jump here anyhow and try this one. And yeah, there we found our login. Why this one is all time called? Because it loops here. It will generate this all time. It will come to this point, but it will probably not come to this point. I don't know. Perhaps it still come. So we found a way. So this while loop, we have to change this while loop. The question is again, okay, how I change this? And it is again a condition, but this time it's a while loop condition. We have to change this condition true to something more specific, something that gives us more information. And in our case, okay, I know when this checksum is true and this one is true, which means if I found my password, this block here, then you should not loop anymore, right? So when it comes here back, and this found password is set to true, you should not loop here. So I can use this found password also here. So let's make this one. I'll delete this one. And this one is also a bool. That comes very too handy in a while loop because we need anyway a bool. Okay, found password. And now we have to say while it's not true. Why so? It's not, again, this not true. Because if it's true, means we found our password. You should not go in. If it's not true, which means this one is false, you should go in. Which means try to search, generate a password, and then test this password in login account. All right, let's see if this one is helping us a little bit more. Perhaps not, perhaps it helps. We'll see. And oh, that looks not bad. That looks not bad. It says account hack. That is exactly this place here. And it says here something A. And here I have the second line. And the second line is the input. The user password input, and which means the password which was inputted. And in my case, it was indeed A. But this one can have still problems because I tested this one with more length and so on. There occurs problems, and this occurring of problems means you have normally test now different cases. In this example, let's say I want to test just the second case with the length B. Let's see if I find this AB also. Let's see what happens here. I start, perhaps it works not. It says here, you see it generate all this output here, but in the end it says account hacked and we have this AB. So this output here, by the way, you can skip also if you want, so that it shows only this AB, and the skip place would be anywhere where you print this out, all this generated passwords. But I keep this now for now, because I think you get the idea. And this one worked also. Let's try, let's make it longer, right? Let's see set, what happens now? And you see, the longer the password here it goes, the longer it takes For example, if I have something like this one here, I would sit now here a little bit longer, and you see it's trying to generate all the possible combinations till it reached this length, and this one takes, yes, much more time the longer the password goes. So, and we learned something else about a little bit brute force, and you see I'm in length now here anywhere, and I must wait, so I don't wait and waste your time with cracking here the password. We are going back, and let's test something else. One thing that normally you should have to test all cases, all possible cases. You have to check what is possible, what is not possible, and normally you have to check literally all cases to be sure that this one works. This case we skip now this one because on the, you have to do this, but I can't do this, show you now all cases here while I'm recording here this video. So let's continue. One case I want tested, it is the wrong case. What happens now? Because this one is a special case, because I have not even a possibility to crack this one. Why I can't crack this one here? Because I generate only big capital letters here and passwords, and this one is not covered. So I can stop here. I know this will not cover it. If you want to crack something like that, then you have to generate here a new, for example, a new array with 26 characters with lower letters, and then try to generate this as well, and then with numbers, perhaps array with numbers, array with special characters, and generate this, combine this anyhow, and then you can even crack this kind of things with numbers, upper lefts. But one info, if this goes too long, this takes just too long, but there are still techniques to make it shorter. But we don't care about hacking, because we are interested in solving this coding. We are training coding. The question is here, important question, the last question, why I showed you this hacking brute force, right? This was probably a very important question. And the reason why I showed you this brute force attack here, at least the basics, how it works, is as a software developer, right? We become a developer, we learn C++, we can create programs and softwares. You must be aware that your software will be probably hacked by others, and you must see how you can make your software later more safe. And this one is just to be a little bit get aware of it, and when you go in a little bit more security in future, how to make your code secure, how to, yes, the security topic is so big, but this is just so to get a little bit aware of it, that your code must be later also secure, even if they can hack the code, which means source code. If they have the source code, your code is owned normally. It owned means here you can't do anything against anyone who has the source code, because with source code means they have access to this code here, the machine code of this one, and they will go there with our reverse engineering tools and find what they want. But in general, they have not the source codes online, but they can have access, for example, like here in our example, okay, this one not like here, the first example, which is where they have a login, right? When I started this thing here, they had a login, and this one, they can have a login. Perhaps they have not the source code, and then they can change a little bit. For example, that they can input login with many tries, and then they are using their own created, let's say, brute force program here, and send all time this to the login user input, and then they try to crack a password. So that's possible. And like I said, you should get only a little bit aware. Software security in future will be also is a part of development which you have to be an eye on. But at start, we are concentrating, of course, to learn the basics. And with that said, I hope you see these functions actually which we used here are most of them are very basic functions. You see just a void or sometimes a bool function with a return value, but here we have only used normal parameters, not even this const parameters, this reference const parameters. But this exercise was still very difficult, I think. For beginners, even more difficult. So if you solve this with your own ideas, that's the best way. It doesn't matter if how many mistakes you make. It's important that you solved it with your own ideas, that you tried it to solve it. If it's not work, it's also good you tried it, because you will see in programming it works not all time, all fine, but later it comes little by little, and you see how other people solved it, and then you can integrate it. For example, this program here, I showed you this, where is this thing here, this account here I take from. We take this recursion function here from the internet. It was not my solution, and I changed it to my solution. For example, it said, okay, he made an generator, but his generator is not working like I needed, and we changed this here, and you saw this changing here with passwords, I mean the variables which we need, where we need it, how we call it, keep track on it. Yeah, it's not so easy. I mean, you have to program it to see how you make it. So all the videos with these keywords, it's also very important to understand the basics, of course. What is this keyword doing? But you saw here it was more like how you call this, when you call this, why you call this, and why you call this variable here, and why you make you this one here. For example, this one is probably wrong. Not wrong, I mean, I made here a global variable, but if I called it here, perhaps I don't need this local anymore. But this one I made later. So it was on development. I set you in development. We change it, we add, we delete, and yeah, you can make all in development. The goal is at the end it should run. Doesn't matter. And as a beginner, be happy if it's running, if it's working. Perfect. And this code is probably, we can make after you finished one working code. Later it's called profiling, which means now you find better solutions, now you find better style, now you find better. You try to make the code in general better. After this profiling step, after you said, okay, I found one solution, it's probably one of the worst like mine here, but if I spend now a little bit more time, and then I can polish. Profiling means also polishing this code so that this one will work like I want in a very good way. So I talked much, but with that, this function here is finished. And in the next video, I will still talk about this account login, because I want to show you one more example, and the example is where I created this one here with my login, which I showed you at the start of the exercise, right? There was this exercise where I created a login, but I reused the code, and this login had then some login information, and I want to show you how we can change there a little bit the same thing. Like it's the same thing like here. The only different is later when you see it, the start point. But when we come to this point, I will show you what I mean. So this video is very long, but I hope you made something and created your own password, your own code, and hacked your own account with this generated password. And yeah, and congratulations if you did it. That's absolutely not easy for a beginner. It takes a little bit time, perhaps some days, weeks. Doesn't matter. Just try it, train it. It's normal. And later you get used to that, and after you get used, you are good. So with that said, if you have any questions or any complaints, like all time, write it in the comments, and see you in the next, and bye.